Super speed is one of the most popular superpowers in the world. Dating all the way back to Hermes in ancient Greece, people have always wanted this ability. And it makes perfect sense. Who wouldn't want to be faster than a bullet, to be able to run on water, to travel around the world in seconds, or run through time and travel to other dimensions? It's an amazing ability. But despite this incredible power, speedsters are still only human, which means they can die. And they have on several occasions. And this video is going to count down the 5 best super speed deaths in current media. The Flash. The Injustice animated film was incredibly bloody and incredibly violent, and it saw a lot of superheroes and supervillains die. And I thoroughly recommend watching it, because it's a pretty solid adaptation, although it really should have been a TV series, not a film. But anyway, this film adapts from both the video game and the comic of the same name, and in the beginning of the film, Joker has kidnapped Lois Lane. So Superman and Batman get the entire league hunting her down, not only because she's the love of Superman's life, but because she is pregnant with Superman's daughter. Now, the Flash is naturally recruited for fairly obvious reasons, and during his search, he comes across what appears to be the Scarecrow's lair, and he is dosed with Scarecrow's fear toxin, which causes extreme feelings of fear and hallucinations. And the Flash becomes paralysed with fear, quite literally, and he doesn't know what around him is real or not, so he doesn't move when the saw comes out and decapitates him. Now, we can only assume that this gas was designed specifically for him by the Joker when he murdered Scarecrow. Otherwise, the Flash's healing factor should have filtered it out of his system. And this is a quick and hopefully painless death. But it's the speed and ease with which he is killed so early on in this film that lets the audience know what type of movie they are in for. And that is a gory but pretty damn good movie. The Reverse Flash. Now, the Reverse Flash has died many times over the years. Thanks to his time travel powers, he often disturbs the timeline and in one way or another manages to keep on living. But in the Flashpoint paradox, he dies in a very basic way by making a very big mistake. He stands still. He does this to gloat at the Flash, but it gives the Thomas Wayne Batman a chance to put a bullet through his head. But this isn't actually how he dies. Well, not exactly. You see, in his final moments, the Reverse Flash pulls in all of the speed force that he can, much more than he has ever pulled in before, and he uses it to stretch out the last few seconds of his life into a few days, to give him a chance to correct this. Now, he is unable to save his own life. Don't exactly know why, but for some reason he can't. So instead, he focuses on getting a magical Get Out of Hell free card, which literally stops you from going to hell so long as you are holding it when you die. I can only assume it's from some mystical or demonic version of the Monopoly board game, because it does sound quite silly, but hey, apparently it works. But the Reverse Flash isn't the only one after this card. So are Amanda Waller and Vandal Savage. Now, you may wonder why Vandal Savage wants it, seeing as he's immortal, but he figures with all the advanced technology and all the meta powers around him these days, someone is going to figure out how to kill him. So he wants a backup plan so that if this does happen, he doesn't go to hell. And so he has Professor Pig put it in his body in such a way that if it is removed, Vandal Savage will die, thus ensuring that no one can steal it, at least not without Vandal dying while he's still touching the card, and then it will be activated and he'll go to heaven. But he didn't count on the Reverse Flash's ability to phase through objects, and so the Reverse Flash is able to remove it without it touching Vandal's body as he dies. So Vandal is dead, and the Reverse Flash has a ticket out of hell. Except that Amanda Waller is dying of cancer and has sent the Suicide Squad after the card. So they fight the Reverse Flash in order to get it. Now, usually he could use his speed powers to kill them before they could even blink, but in his current state, his powers are greatly reduced. Yes, he's still very fast, but not fast enough, as these are all very highly trained assassins, and some of them do have powers. But although he can't kill them, they also can't kill him, as that would activate the card, and it only has one use. But they do manage to get it off of him, and so they are free to kill him, which sends him back to the moment on the battlefield, and he falls to the floor and dies from the gunshot wound. One thing I love about this is that it really shows the lengths that people go through in order to save themselves, and I think it's actually a pretty realistic telling of a speedster's death. After all, when the end comes for us, we all fight tooth and nail to stay alive. And with the powers of super speed, we'd be able to fight a lot more. So it makes perfect sense that if we could claw in enough power and travel through time to save things, we would all do that in the end. So I actually really like this way of him dying. Johnny Quick. In the film Crisis on Two Earths, there are heroes that we know from the DC universe, and an alternate universe where all of the good guys are villains, and all of the villains are heroes. And Lex Luthor and the Joker are their world's greatest heroes, and they manage to acquire a way to travel to other dimensions, and recruit the Justice League to help them take down the evil Justice League, which are called the Syndicate. And of course, they do eventually manage to defeat them. But there is one problem, and that is Owlman. Owlman is this universe's version of Batman, and he is so evil and so twisted that he has built a bomb that can destroy an entire planet. And by detonating it in the right place, in the right part of the multiverse, he can start a chain reaction that will destroy every universe, everywhere, all at once. He literally wants to wipe out all of creation. And he can do it. And the problem is, no one can get over to this dimension to stop him. But of course, Batman comes up with a plan. If they have a speedster vibrate at the right frequency for long enough, then Batman will be able to get there and get back. Now naturally the Flash volunteers, but Batman says he is too slow. So Johnny Quick does the job instead. And then after Batman has stopped Owlman and returns, Johnny stops vibrating, and it's revealed that he has withered into an old man. Vibrating at that speed and frequency for so long has burnt out his entire life force, and he dies from old age. But just before he goes, it's revealed that Batman knew this would happen, and that's why he stopped his Flash from doing it, because Batman is as loyal to his friends as he is ruthless to his enemies. The Red Rush. One of, if not the most violently bloody superhero show of all time, is Invincible. And it has one of the most graphically violent deaths of a speedster to date. In fact, it definitely has the most violently graphic death of a speedster to date. Now, this universe is basically a reimagining of the DC and Marvel characters, and one of those reimaginings is the Guardians of the Globe, which has characters very similar to the Justice League, one of which has super speed, the Red Rush. And I actually think they did the power of super speed a lot of justice on this show, showcasing not just how fast he can run, but how fast he can think, as he is able to think at super speed, so much so that a simple 5-minute conversation feels like hours to him. And this is why he is the first one to notice that Omni-Man, who is essentially Superman, is attacking at super speed, as he is the only one fast enough to see him in real time, and he manages to save the immortal man from being hit. But since Omni-Man is just as fast, when Red Rush attacks him, he manages to grab a hold of him and get his hands on his skull. So Red Rush pounds away at Omni-Man with all of his speed, delivering thousands and thousands of punches that could easily knock through a solid brick wall. But Omni-Man's chest is beyond bulletproof, so all the Red Rush manages to do is cause a few bruises to Omni-Man, while shattering his own bones and destroying his hands. All the while, Omni-Man doesn't let go of his skull and keeps pushing on it till it pops like a balloon. Now you may wonder why it's so difficult for him to break this skull, but you have to remember that the Red Rush's body is used to moving at faster than the speed of sound speeds, so naturally his body is going to be quite durable, otherwise it would explode every time he tried to run. But sadly, it was not durable enough to stop Omni-Man's overwhelming power, even if it did slow him down for a second. And of all the super speed deaths on this list, in a way this is actually the most realistic, as we see him kicking and screaming for all his worth, using all of his super speed to try and tear away and save his life, which is what anyone would do in that situation. But ultimately, Omni-Man is just too powerful for him to escape from. Kid Flash. Now, while I haven't fully given up on him returning, well, after all these years, I am finally considering the idea that the writers have decided to let him stay dead, even though the groundwork is there to bring him back. Check out the links in this video's description for more information on this. But still, with the show being cancelled, it's pretty unlikely that he's going to return. And even if they do manage to make another comeback, which isn't impossible, they did it once, like I said, the writers still seem to have abandoned their original plans to return him to the land of the living. Though, to be fair, it is a pretty good death. The Reach have spent Season 2 of Young Justice invading Earth discreetly. This means they got the government of Earth to invite them to stay, and they are planning to bring Earth down from within. The way they like to conquer planets is actually quite insidious. Plus, of course, the Green Lantern Corps have a pact with the Reach. So long as the Reach is invited, the Green Lanterns won't stop them from taking over. Which doesn't really make sense, to be honest, because the Justice League could have easily told the world's leaders this and shut the whole thing down from the beginning. But ignoring that rather glaring plot hole, the heroes have still managed to defeat the Reach from the shadows, and they destroy all their plans and even manage to get their invitation to Earth rescinded, so they have to leave. But of course, the Reach aren't going to go quietly. Instead, they have a series of doomsday bombs set to destroy all life on Earth, which they activate purely out of pettiness. But the villainous group The Light, who was one of the Reach's partners, had always planned to betray them, and so they developed software to stop these bombs. And with Blue Beetle's help, they do just that. The heroes band together, and using the scarab eggs Blue Beetle makes, combined with the software, they managed to stop all of them. Except for one. Impulse and the Flash couldn't get there quick enough, and it's in the process of fully detonating, leaving them with no choice but to run around it, and create enough force to counter the power of the alien weapon. But sadly, it's just not enough speed, and so Kid Flash has to join them, even though he's actually the slowest one of them. And so the three of them are able to stop the detonation and damage to the Earth, but since Kid Flash is the slowest, he is becoming a sort of exit valve for the powerful energy, and it vaporizes his body. Now, he knew this would happen, and Flash and Impulse both tried to help him by slowing down, but Kid Flash refused, insisting that they put saving the world first, even though he knew that he would die. He went out as a true hero, saving the lives of everyone on Earth. And when you think about it, a hero really can't ask for a better end to their life. And those are the 5 best Speedster deaths in media. Now, personally, I think the Red Rush is my favourite one, purely for its over-the-top graphicness. But which is your favourite? And do you agree with my choices on this list? Or are there any other Speedster deaths that you think should have been mentioned instead? Be sure to let us know in the comments, and I'd just like to quickly remind everyone that we have some merchandise available on our store, and to say thanks to all of you who have donated to the Needle Mouse Productions page on Patreon. And as always, thanks for watching, and feel free to subscribe, share, like, and comment.